Hey everyone, welcome back to Owl Dragon Adventures. I'm Rob McPherson, and today I'm going to do a solo review of the new game Twilight Inscription by Fantasy Flight Games. So if you watch the channel at all, you know that I have an affinity towards roll and write games. So when I heard that there was one based off of Twilight Imperium, the Mega 4X game that I still have yet to play, I just knew that I had to own it. Luckily, we were at Gen Con this year, and Scott was able to snag me a copy of it. And it wasn't long before I started breaking it out solo, and I've got to say, I'm really enjoying the experience. So Twilight Inscription is a 4X roll and write game. It's broken into 4 different categories. You've got your navigation, your expansion, your warfare, and your industry sections. And each of those 4 sheets, and yes, every player does deal with 4 sheets throughout this roll and write game, takes on a different part of your empire. You're also assigned a species at the beginning of the game that gives you perks and bonuses and different strategy hints to guide you along the way. In the solo game, you're playing against an AI character which eats up some of the focus die, the colorful dice there, and it uses those to further its goals as well. At certain points along the way, along its track, it either makes it stronger in its warfare, stronger in the negotiations, or the diplomacy rather, or it will actually take some of the objective cards away, meaning that you won't be able to get the highest point value out of them, so you're kind of racing them for those as well, much like a real opponent to a certain extent. The goal of the game as a solo is a point chase game. A lot of roll and writes end up being a point chase game, which usually I'm not a huge fan of, but in roll and writes I don't seem to mind them because that's really just the idea behind them. And you're just kind of chasing a higher score than you got last time, and there's in the instruction book there's some certain tiers as well for you to kind of go against. So the gameplay of this game, it can seem overwhelming at first because, as I said, each player does get access to these 4 different sheets, but they really do a good job of keeping you focused. So the first thing that happens when you're in a strategy phase is you roll the dice, and then you decide which one of those 4 sheets you're actually going to focus on during your turn. And that's the only one that you get to apply any of those dice values to, or if you have other resources that you've acquired throughout the rest of the game, you can also spend those on the sheet at the time. Once you've decided which sheet it is, you go ahead, you assign the dice to those, and then you move on to the next card, the next round. So the rounds can be the warfare round, they can be the diplomacy round, or they can be the industry round, where on the industry round you get to gather supplies, which either count as victory points at the end, or you can use them as other resources throughout the game. So the gameplay for me, I think they did a really great job of distilling this 4X experience into it. Admittedly, still long, 90-minute experience as a roll and write game, but it really does feel like a 4X. The accessibility of the game, it's definitely on the higher end of the spectrum when it comes to roll and write games. You're managing the 4 sheets, you're rolling dice, you're going through an entire deck of cards. It takes place over 90 minutes. There's synergies that I still have not figured out. I'm liking the game, but I am not very good at it. I'm going to say that up front. It does have an introduction playthrough guide that does help you play through, and it's got a solo guide. I tried putting them both together at once, so my first play was really, really clunky, but you can definitely learn the game with the resources they provided. It's just got a little bit of a learning curve, as you'd kind of expect in such a large title. The design of the game is beautiful. I think they did a great job of really capturing that vast space feel to it. The navigation map has the different systems laid out beautifully. You've got the industry tracker. The warfare is this really cool, almost like a Tetris-y grid that you're playing the ships on, which are just kind of different points along the grid that you fill out depending on the different shapes of the ships you have. So I think they did a really good job with that. The dice are really, really nice. They're big and chunky, and since this is a roll and write and they are kind of the central point of the game, having really nice dice is very important. So I think they did a really good job of designing this game, making it feel like that 4X while distilling it down. Something that's kind of designed but kind of quality too, so I'm going to bridge the gap here, is that the markers are the only thing I'm not really thrilled with. So this is a dry erase board game, which is great because since each player takes 4 sheets, if this was just a pencil on paper that you ripped up afterwards, you'd be going through this stuff like crazy. But it is dry erase. I'd say the markers, once they set, they're more wet erase. They do come with an eraser on them. They even specify in the instruction books that you're only supposed to use it for quick corrections in the time. They feel more abrasive than really an eraser. I really don't like them. I end up using Windex and a paper towel when I'm done. That said, that the markers are really bright orange. They stand out against the blue background of the cards really nicely. And because they're more wet erase than dry erase, as you're reaching across the multiple boards, they don't smudge. So it's kind of a plus and minus. It's a little annoying at the end, but it's worth it, I guess. The dry erase seems to be really good quality. I've only played, a dozen times at this point, so we'll see how those hold up after multiple uses. Cards are great, linen style cards. They put a lot of effort into this, which is good because it is a $70 game, so it's not really a cheap entry into roll and writes, but the quality is definitely there. You've got a good number of cards. You've got the good number of... This plays up to 8 players. I'm kind of going into value now, but you can play up to 8 players, so each of those players has 4 sheets. You get 32 dry erase boards, plus the Mechatol Rex, the Goal Planet card, which also acts as the AI tracker. So they did a good job of putting everything together so it makes you feel like you've got your money's worth out of it. As I said, I'm going to put the disclaimer, I'm really into roll and write games, so my scores on those tend to be a little bit higher just because they fit into the niche that I really enjoy. I find myself, even though this is a 90-minute game, even when I'm feeling a little bit tired and I would normally break out like a 30-minute roll and write, I'm gravitating towards this one. It could also be the new shiny effect, but I think there's a lot of synergies that I just haven't figured out yet, and it's not frustrating me so much as making me want to play again and figure it out even more. I think there's a lot of depth to be found here, and I really do think that Fantasy Flight did a great job distilling down this massive 8 to 12 hour 4X game into a 90-minute roll and write game. And I think if you went any faster than that, you're not going to keep the spirit of Twilight Imperium. Right now, I'm landing at about an 8 or an 8.5 on this. I want to play it a bit more solo. I want to see if I can figure out the synergy so I can get better scores. I've only won, according to their score sheet, probably 2 or 3 of the 12 times I've played. As I said, not very good at this game. Really enjoy it, though. The next thing I'm really excited to do is play it with our group. We haven't gotten to play it with Scott and I played it 2-player at one point, but it still plays with a lot of the same solo mechanics when you're playing with 2-player because you still have the AI that's playing one of them so that you've got the 2 different opponents that you're going after, especially in the warfare. So I'm looking forward to getting this in front of the group, but this is definitely a very solid entry into my solo collection. And if you're looking for that next step up of roll and writes that's just a little bit dense, I'd say I'd put this on like the Hadrian's Wall level of things. Maybe even a little bit more, since Hadrian's Wall I figured out pretty well and I'm still working on this one. But yeah, no, Fantasy Flight did a great job with this one. I'm really looking forward to getting it to the table much more often. So yeah, that's my solo review of Twilight Inscription, the epic roll and write experience by Fantasy Flight Games. And remember, as always, please do like and subscribe to this channel if you're enjoying the content we have. If there's any games, solo or otherwise, that we haven't reviewed yet that you'd love to see a review of or that you just think that we would enjoy, please do leave a comment below. And as always, thank you for joining us on our board game adventures.